Hello, everyone. Really excited to be here. Talk about AutoScout. I will put a couple of things into perspective with Total Scout as well. You've seen we have two verticals, Immobilien Scout and AutoScout. I'll focus mostly on AutoScout. I think I know that one best. So looking at these numbers, and Blake presented some more financials as well, it definitely, I think we have the smell of a champion, which is not a bad thing. I think it gives us a good tailwind. It gives us a good momentum. Especially the strong brand really helps on the traffic side. But as Blake said, the complacency of being a champion is definitely always a risk, is something we want to watch out for. And I'll guide you through some of the things we are doing to make sure that our business doesn't feel inside like we are a champion. It's time to relax. It's time to be out in the sun and have a good time. But what are we trying to do and hopefully successfully implement to make sure that we stay on top, that we stay a disruptor, that we stay someone that really drives how consumers experience the platform, how customers, the people that pay for listing on the platform, experience, and how advertisers find the best ROI. One thing that's worth mentioning is ImmoScout was actually founded in Berlin. We are headquartered in Berlin, and I think it's super exciting also, of course, that NOAH now is in Berlin. We think it's a great location to find top talent and to really build this business. Just a real quick journey back in time, looking around. I think there's some of you here in the room that might still remember the time when you looked at a newspaper for a classifieds ad. You're looking for a car or a condo to rent or a house to buy. Anybody in the room that still remembers that? A couple of us. Yeah, I have to raise my hand as well. I think we are showing our age in this one. Very, very nasty and ugly process, you think of it. It was very expensive to put that ad in, right? Because every line you had to pay for. So people got very creative with acronyms and very short descriptions and abbreviations. It was impossible to understand what the heck is being advertised. So you had to phone people, had to try and find your way. No additional information available. You had to go to different newspapers to make sure that you see all the classifieds. Old days. So 15 years ago when Scout was founded, that was one of the key things that we did different. We said, like, we wanted to build the fastest growing, the biggest, all the listings in one place, convenient to search, easy to navigate. That was the whole idea. And that worked great, and that brought us to where we are right now. And over the last 15 years, the business has changed. We have innovated. We have continued to drive new products, new solutions, both for consumers and how easy it is to list and to search and to find. You get notifications, but also for the customers. How easy is it for them to list, to drive their business, to be successful? Today, we are a big step further already. First of all, we are listing and showing the listings on all the devices. So the whole consumer journey is really built. You use a smartphone, you use a PC web, a mobile site, an app, on a tablet, it doesn't matter. Basically, your listings that you want to remember, they're there, they're synchronized. Depending on what device you use when you're logged in, everything follows you. It's a very straightforward model. Not simple to maintain, not simple to build, but for the consumer, it's straightforward. From a transparency, we are really trying to make sure that all the content that's relevant for the consumer is present, and that is a challenge as things change very, very rapidly. The content needs to be brought in from various sources, and I think that's an area where we have to continue to innovate to make sure the consumer really has a complete perspective on what am I looking for, what other information may I need, and I'll talk a little bit more about what we do in the future. Visualization is an important one. We talked earlier, or I described the old experience of having a classified with no pictures. For a consumer, it's now free to list their car on AutoScout. Up to 10 images is free, no cost at all. Very simple process. You can list from a mobile device. You walk around, you get image directions, take this picture, take this, take that. Images are enhanced. They basically, the listing is done in 5 minutes. You just put in the number, the vehicle identification number, pop on your listing, goes live. So really trying to make it convenient, make it simple. It still is, to a large extent, about having the most listings, and we have 2.5 million listings for cars alone in Europe. The last one I wanted to mention in terms of where we are today is on the monetization side. Blake mentioned real briefly a pricing model change, and I think it's worthwhile to indicate real quick what we've done there. We've just introduced 6 weeks ago a new pricing model where in the listings in the past and for most other players out there, there is a sorting rank, and then within that sort you can say, like, I would like to highlight my one ad. we have changed and added additional view where not just within that sorting rank can you promote your listing, but a lot more like you would find on Google. You can say, like, I have a special offer here. I would like to have that on the top. Even if it's not completely sorted based on just by price, I want that to be highlighted. It sounds like a small thing. For the classifieds listing business, it's a big change. And it has been received very well in the community for the car dealers mostly, and also the OEMs over the last couple of weeks since we've introduced it. So where do we go from here? And one way to describe that is, and also for an organization to make it simple to understand, like, what are we doing now? We're doing all these things and all these platforms. What else do you want us to go and do? We said, like, we always need to challenge us and raise the bar every single day. We need to get more simple, more efficient, and more stress-free for all the segments we are serving. For the consumer on the one side that is looking for a property or looking for a car, for the customer that wants to drive their business by inserting on the platform, by listing the cars and the departments and houses, and for the advertisers and the OEMs. So make it simple, efficient, and eventually a really stress-free, hence the Chesterfield chair experience. Specifically, what are we trying to do? I think when we look at the next disruption, and I mentioned earlier, we don't want to be a champion that leans back. We want to be a champion that continues to disrupt. Classifieds will move from marketplace, where we are right now, more to like a real consumer-centric search environment. It's a very specific intent a user has. Usually it's a life stage event. It's like, I'm looking for an apartment, I'm looking for a car. It's a very expensive, a very important choice for them to make. They're spending every single visit an average 25 minutes on the site. And they come back for weeks and weeks and weeks at a time until they've found what they're looking for. It's an intense process. So we want that to be really consumer-centric, and it's a lot more about search. Consumer journey. Understanding the touch points, understanding how early the consumer comes in. Where do they go and find out their first ideas? How can I inspire them? Nobody usually goes on the site and says, like, I want to have a 250 horsepower car in red, must be a BMW or Porsche brand. That's not how most people search. We found out most people search by sending in, like, I'm looking for a good value family car. Life stage event, there's a family. Okay, so what do we do? How do we serve that? It's very different from what we do today. And it's just one way to look at the consumer journey in a very different way rather than just having a couple of pop-up menus. Enhanced mobile search. Mobile interaction, I think, is the better term. It's not just mobile search, but searching on mobile is much different than searching on a PC website. One thing that we are testing right now is, many of you might know that, you walk around, you see something that you like, let's say a car. You think, oh, this is nice. How many of you would always know which brand that is and which make or model? It's hard, it's difficult. But if that's a car I like, I would like to share that with a friend, like, hey, I've seen this car, what do you think? The mobile phone gives me a chance to take a picture. I get that directly into my search results. I feed back, I have 100 of these cars. It's actually a, I don't know, Alfa Romeo, Giulia, whatever. Here is where you can find it. Here's the information you might be worthwhile, and here's the various models and makes that you can get. It's a different way of searching, and you can do that on mobile, and it's some of the experiments we're driving right now. Maybe one in terms of new products and suggestions. Financing is here, insurance, I think that's pretty obvious. We're also trying innovation when it comes to new devices. Within 3 days of the launch of the Apple Watch, we had actually a small real estate client on the Apple Watch. Meaningful, question mark? Yes, meaningful. If you look for an apartment in Berlin or in Munich, you know that they go really, really fast. The good deals are gone quickly. If you don't have your phone with you, but you have your watch with you, you might get an alarm right there and right then when this listing goes up that very minute, and that could be the difference between getting that deal or not getting it. What do we do in the organization? How do we get from good to great, as Blake mentioned it? I mentioned the consumer, so this is the visitor on the site. Very critical for us. That experience must be one that is delightful. We must have tremendous passion in the organization to go always through that experience and make it better. I mentioned it's simple and efficient and stress-free. For the customer, the people that advertise their products, car dealers, OEM, property owners, they must see us more as a value-added partner than somebody just pushes a price point to them. It's a very different, a consultative selling approach we're working on with them to make sure that what they want, how they want to position themselves and their offer, what are their specialities, what do they really well, how can that come across better on the site, and the consumer can choose accordingly who to work with. And for the company and the teams, we take pride in being very agile. We build small teams. A segment team is usually less than 10 people. We put them together very quickly. We disperse them if things change, and we make sure that they're really empowered. They set up their own KPIs. We make them work like a small company and never allow them to think that this is a big champion type of company. In the middle, you see our vision. We basically want to make sure that the way we work and what we deliver is really empowering our consumers and our customers to do and find what they are looking for. If it's their dream car, if it's their dream home, if it's the right solution for them at the right time, it's empowering them with content and great solutions. Thank you.